So, thank you for joining, everyone. We've got Annemieke Robeek. Please come forward. She's about to be our next president of Holland Fintech. So, presiding the board of Holland Fintech. So, we're really grateful to have her here and actually give a bit of her intent and viewpoints of the sector for yourselves. We also have Gerald Gruber and Arfang Sonko to join here. Please give them a very big hand to welcome them. And let's start this panel session to understand actually what we can do to serve the underbanked. Please take it away. Yeah, they work. They're on. Yeah.
They work. Okay, thank you so much. Dan, I'm very grateful that we have this topic on the agenda today, because banking the underbanked and banking the unbanked is a big issue in a moving world, in a world in flux, where so many people move from one part of the world to the other. And banking is a necessity. But how to get your account? And how can you serve those people? And in how far can we do that with the new digital technologies in a much easier and more efficient way, but also make it transparent and safe? And what kind of institutions are working on this issue to make a smooth inclusion of many people in advanced countries, but also in developing countries, part of that global financial network. I'm very happy to introduce to you from Bank Gerald Gruber and from Rewire Arfang Sonko. Perhaps to start with, can you say a little bit more, Arfang, about what is Rewire?
Sure. And thank you for the invitation. I'm happy to be here. It was good to share ideas about how to include everyone in the financial systems. So Rewire is a financial institution, digital platform, offering financial solutions to working migrants based in Europe or in the UK. So our clients are coming from East Asia, Africa, and they're all working migrants. And we offer embedded insurance, financial solutions, account, cards, and money remittance.
Yeah, and the target market are particularly people who send remittances, isn't it?
I would say remittance is the core business. We started with remittance, and then started from the remittance solution, we started to open new additional services, added value services around financial inclusion, meaning that having a payment method, the ability to receive the salary by having a European IBAN or a UK IBAN, and also ability also to have cross-border financial solutions, because our clients are coming from Asia or from Africa, so they still have families, they still have financial interests in their home countries, but they're also contributing in the European economic activities.
They work here, or they study here.
Definitely. So we are offering cross-border solutions both in Europe, but also through our local partners, financial solutions also here in their home countries.
Thank you. And Gerald, Bank, in the Netherlands we all know Bank, but what does Bank do for the underbanked?
Well, that's a good question. First of all, welcome to the about 20 people who still made it to Friday late afternoon. Thank you for joining our session. I think before I can answer your question, I think we need to define the term a bit better, because unbanked can mean many things. The initial association most people will have is probably playing towards your audience, right? People coming from less developed countries with limited access to the financial system. The question then is, why do they have no access? Is it because for economic reasons? Is it technical or infrastructure reasons? Or is it regulatory reasons? Mm-hmm. Now, we at Bank, we believe banking services should be available to anyone. That doesn't necessarily mean that we are catering to the low end of the market, but we address a segment of people. I would argue that, especially now within Europe, that are migrating, working cross-border, living an international life, having difficulties to open a bank account in other countries.
And if you don't have a bank account, you get stuck immediately.
you will find it very hard to start your life, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I had the same experience. I'm Austrian, so I'm not Dutch, as you can hear, not English either, as you can hear. And when I moved here, it wasn't that easy. You need a BSN first. It takes you time. You need to sort out all the administrative stuff. And I think we found a way around that and to make it really, really easy for people to onboard, to join, to become part of the financial system, right? And then we can take it from there, because once you're in, then you can have access to different financial services.
And can you both give us some insights in how you worked around to get these people an IBAN or an account? What did you do on the one hand, and you already said it is on different layers, but how did you work around?
There's different barriers, for instance, there are cultural differences, there's a language, also the bureaucracy, like with the BSN number, to be registered, to find a house, and then if you have everything, then you can open an account. And one of the other point also, when you talk about technology, it's also about the approach. It's not about technical solutions, but also how you tackle these issues, and it's also about offering. The people need also to adhere to the requirements. And this is also one of the challenges also about this financial inclusion. And for international workers, but even for people living in Europe, they might have also faced some challenges before opening an account. I would say account rather than bank account, because we have different kind of account. So it can be a mobile account, bank account, or other different kind of solutions. But I think the most important thing is the approach. To understand, to have a tight relationship with your end users, with your potential clients, to understand their needs, and based on that, to develop something to address the specific challenges.
And you work in different communities, you said, huh?
Yes, definitely. And we started by the recruitment. Our people are also migrants. So myself, I migrated from Senegal to France, and then here to come to the Netherlands. But also we have committee managers coming from the same committees as our customers, so they speak the same language. And also the platform is designed around their needs, but also different languages. So it's also part of the inclusion. The language is also a step if you want to include everyone to the financial solution. So we have, as you mentioned, we have the unbanked, but we also have the underbanked. So those who have a bank account, but also they don't have the same access in terms of access to the financial services as you and I both have. Sometimes it's not the same. They may face some challenges also. And
with Rewire, you can give them access to that or help them with that.
So what we are trying to do is, like, we notice that sometimes, even if they have access to the financial services, they can sometimes write to 4 different financial solutions. So what we are trying to do is to identify the specific needs and to have everything in one platform. That means that to have the account, to be able to support your family abroad, but also when it's about our people, like as I said, that they still have their family abroad. Sometimes I think also spending some years in Europe and then going back home. So it's also about how to prepare the future in their home countries. So that means also having partnerships with local partners, like in the home countries, to build their future in Europe, but also in their home countries.
Yeah. And how did you do that at Bunk?
I think if the underlying assumption is everybody should have access, and then you think around this from a very user-centric point of view, you can, and that's what we did, we find ways around limitations others think they are there, because they think risk-based, they think product-centric, right? And if I have a large branch network and my costs are a lot higher, then I would probably be a bit reluctant to sign on anybody, not knowing if I will ever make money from those. So, and that's what we did. And you can open an account with Bank in 5 minutes, right? You can get Dutch IBANs, you can get French IBANs, we can give you German IBANs, Spanish IBANs, basically whatever we need, almost whatever you need, because we also challenged regulatory, let's say, European regulation, right? One of the findings is...
I know how hard it is. I worked 10 years for ABN.
It's very fascinating because you have regulation on European levels and you have regulation on country levels, and they are not coherent.
No.
There's contradictions between them, and if you dig deep enough, you will find areas to take advantage of.
Yeah. So you both have managed with your companies to offer services for the underbanked and the unbanked. And what are then the challenges ahead? And how far is this, I think, growing market becoming a market also interesting for other banks or other providers? Is that a challenge? Or is the challenge even more the regulatory and the supervision? Or could you elaborate a bit on that?
Oh, I can give it a try. I think it depends a bit on the segment you're talking about, right? I mean, one underserved segment, and that's true for many European countries, is small companies. Yeah? About 25% of our user base are SMEs, but it's actually more micro companies, really. It's sole entrepreneurs or young startups that just founded, handful of people. For them, it's really tough to get a good banking service, right? So that's one opportunity. What else is ahead? By onboarding so many people, or making it so easy to onboard, you have to be very good in figuring out the bad apples when they're in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah? So that is a technology challenge where we deploy all our expertise. We've developed our own core banking stack and our own processing systems and our own transaction monitoring, AI-based stuff. So hopefully we're doing a good job at that, but that is definitely a challenge because otherwise you'll end up in deep trouble.
Yeah, and then you're liable. Yeah.
You see some of our competitors with German origins have serious issues with their regulator.
Regulators, exactly, yeah. And how did you do that, Anfang?
Yeah, sure. And I would say also, globally, the financial institution was designed, tailored, based on the Western population's requirements. So banks in general in the 70s did a great job by offering global solutions to be able to use the cards anywhere around the world. But now the main thing is also how to address specific needs. That means also in terms of risk-based approach. Yeah. To categorize the users, like if we talk about the Nigerian, the Filipinos, the Thai communities, they have different behaviors depending if they're living in Germany, in the Netherlands, or in Italy, or in the UK, for the same community. So all the technology also is to identify, to define a risk-based approach, to define different risk, and also different mitigation measures in order to offer the right solution to the right customers. And also in order to reduce, as a financial institution, to reduce also our risk exposure. So on one hand, to reduce the risk, but also to offer the right solution to the right people.
I imagine you cannot talk to everybody. So you must have indeed, as you already suggested, you must have specific techniques or algorithms to sort out with whom you're working, with whom you would like to bank. And how far can you do that under the European privacy law? Is that a hurdle to take or not?
I don't see that as a hurdle, to be honest. I mean, we have our very clearly defined target segment, and we found, I think, a good way to identify and address these people online.
Okay,
right?
That's how
Not
you do
personally, obviously,
no.
right? It's just targeting the right group of people with ads, getting them to onboard, to download the app, give it a try. Yeah, try it out for 4 weeks, and then hopefully stay and bank with us. So that's less of a concern.
And if you come, if you work with people who come from countries where there are sanctions, or how do you work around that? Or are you allowed to?
If it's under sanction, we're not allowed to. So we just respect the rules. We're not trying to serve but we are. We have our compliance team identifying the specific points, also what is allowed, what is not allowed, what is not clearly clarified. We have also developed a relationship with deep relationship with the regulators. If you have any doubt, also we have ongoing discussions with the regulators. It can be the DNB in the Netherlands, but if you're thinking about offering a specific product in another European countries, we first contact the DNB, but also other European regulators to explain the project, the risk exposure, how we mitigate the risk, and also to define. But we always stick to the rules.
So in some way you can say all the regulatory hurdles are taken first by your companies.
I think
that is a great service, of course, but people very often don't know how difficult that is. And you can't bank on that.
It is true. I think one thing we do, and I'm sure that's true for both of our companies, is we think about those regulatory and administrative hurdles, and we try to find a way that makes it as easy as possible for the prospective user to join.
And
now,
there the digital comes in.
To give an example, because you were mentioning people under sanction. If they're sanctioned, then no, that's a no-go, because otherwise we'll be shut down immediately. But only a couple of months ago, we see an influx of people from Ukraine. Bank was the first company in the Netherlands who offered free accounts to Ukrainians by thinking in a very creative way on, okay, how do we do that? How do we work with regulators, with communities, to make sure we can identify people based on their national IDs in Cyrillic, which nobody here, at least in our team, would understand in the first place. And we managed that, and including translating the app, everything was done, I think, took us 3 weeks.
3 weeks only?
3 weeks, and 3 weeks after basically Feb 24, we had people sitting in some of the communities physically, which is very atypical. It's not our business model, but in this case we did it, and signing up refugees, give them a bank account. I think that's a good example on how you can leverage. It's more mindset than technology to bring people on board.
That's interesting, because if we, for instance, think about developing countries or countries in Africa, then we think about leapfrogging with digital technology, as we also did with the mobile telephone, for instance, and then do that in a different way. Is it what you do now for the remittances, for refugees, for specific international groups? Isn't that a very interesting laboratory to do banking in booming Africa in 10 years' time?
Yeah, and I just want to what you mentioned about the Ukraine, because it was an interesting situation, and it was the same thing. So we started also to identify how can we better serve the customers, because I saw behind any remittance you have a human story, the personal stories behind that and so on. And there was also some threshold before the war from the money coming outside from Ukraine to Europe, but from outside from Europe to Ukraine also is the biggest European recipient countries. And there's a discussion with the European Commission to lower the fees in terms of remittance. But what we realized that the fees are already lower than what is officially the target now to reduce the cost. But this was also interesting. Talking about Africa and also about Asia, there's two ways, like for the sending market, but also the receiving. So also one of the things also to think about is for the payout. If you think only about like the European framework, we think automatically about sending money from a bank account to another bank account. But depending on the country, sometimes it's wallet first, mobile first, or cash out. So it's also important to develop different partnerships, local partners, or to have direct footprint in different countries, but also to know about the culture. So this is why also it's important also to have people from these communities within the company. And so depending on the countries, we can see what is the better way, how should we tackle the specific issues. So we have the tech and also the people.
Yeah, because I think in the end, with the services you provide, you also give much more transparency in the banking itself, also to countries or from countries to Europe, where normally it is quite difficult to make it very transparent.
We're trying to do our best.
Yeah, I think you should be loved by the DNB. But also, how do you make money with the companies you have? You know, when you do this kind of what perhaps many of us think are niche transactions, how can you make money? You
want to go first?
So
No, I can go.
I think it's a misconception, to be honest, right?
No, but that's good. Explain that. Elaborate that.
I mean, again, we need to differentiate. Arfang is certainly going to talk about remittance and the business model there. We have a purely subscription-based model, right? Everybody pays the same. It's not super cheap. And we don't necessarily target the economically lower end of the market.
No.
Yeah? When I talk unbanked, I also talk about, as I said at the beginning, people who have, come in cross-border from other countries, have administrative issues.
Yeah.
And
you make life easier for them.
We just offer them the best possible service, and then they're actually willing to pay a monthly fee. It's not... All our users per se are profitable.
Okay.
Yeah? And we can do that because we're still a very slim organization. We take a lot of advantage of technology, obviously. We own a lot, as I said earlier, of the technology ourselves. And that's how we can operate and provide a different type of service than more traditional banks with large brick-and-mortar branches out there can actually do.
Yeah. And bank, we know as a bank, and we see as a bank, and also really as a digital bank, and makes life easier, indeed, also for people like me.
Thanks for promoting our slogan.
Yeah. But how is that with Rewire? Because I think you didn't start as a bank, isn't it?
No, we are not a bank.
No.
We are e-money institution. And being digital only also helped to reduce the cost. There's no branches, no agencies, nothing, no physical presence. Everything is online. But also the business model, what we do is we are offering many remittance, but not only. It has a card, a wallet, and also a subscription program. But there's also FX rates because we are sending money from, so in Europe, they're sending in euro and they're receiving the funds, for example, in Nigeria, in Naira. So there's FX rates also, which the user also can see in the app. So everything is transparent, but we have like the remittance fees and the FX fees.
Yeah, exactly. So it's fees-based then, yeah.
Correct.
And it's subscription-based for bank.
Yes, it is.
I think then that's then the difference, indeed, yeah. How do you work with people from, let's say, the target groups? Arfang already said something about it, and you're a great example of it yourself. But how does bank does that?
I'm not sure I understand the question, to be honest.
How international is bank if you relate it to the target groups? As, for instance, Arfang is really, connected to all those communities and has people from those communities working as professionals.
We are, I'd say, a pretty good reflection of our user base. Bank here in the Netherlands has 40+ different nationalities.
Great.
Yeah. Most of us in Amsterdam, partially in Rotterdam, partially in Sofia in Bulgaria. So we reflect a very international cross-European crowd. I myself, I'm commuting between Austria and Vienna. Right? So I'm a trans-European migrant, if you want to call it that way. And I was facing issues we are now solving, right? It's maybe a stupid example in an underbanked scenario, but I bought a car in Germany and I wanted to get it back to Austria, and you need to get a license plate for a few days, and then you need to leave the German authorities a German IBAN. Otherwise, no way. So where the heck do I get a German IBAN from? And it's the simple things like that. So this whole IBAN discrimination thing is really a big issue in Europe for people who work across borders.
Yeah.
We
which
tackle
is
that.
which is for tech nomads a very natural way to live and work and go.
It shouldn't be a problem in the first place, right?
Yeah.
If we weren't so stupid on a No, the European level is actually fine. On a country level, we're stupid. And undermining positive intentions.
Okay.
Don't get me started on that.
Are there still challenges to increase your target groups? So how to get more clients?
I would say that for us, more than 50% of our clients come to us organically. So the first thing is to know your customer, their needs, to tailor the right solution. And if they're satisfied with the solution, it's so easy to the power of mouth, so to speak about your product. And we define it, we have offline and online discussions, focus groups, when we also present the solution, but also learn from our customers or potential customers what would be rewired in 6 months, in 8 months, or in a year. And based on that, we are always trying to adapt to our customers' needs, and also they're aware of that. Being involved in the product also, it's a kind of that our customers are happy also to be involved in our solutions, because they know that sometimes we can have a focus group in Berlin 6 months ago, and then they see that it has been implemented. Yeah. So they're more than happy to talk about the solutions. So this is how we grow. And this is the main thing, but also we have social media and so on. But the main...
And what are your own targets in percentages to grow in the next 3 years, for instance?
The main target, we are planning to have 40% growth month on month in the year.
40% growth?
Yes, correct. Specifically for specific communities, we're already... the plan.
Aren't banks afraid of you guys?
I don't
think... You'd have to ask the traditional banks whether they are. What I noticed, and this is not bank specific, right? And I worked in Austria before in the wider financial services and banking space. And when one of our now competitors came along, 2013 or so, they were laughed at by the bank board members, right? They were ridiculed. After they were there for a couple of years and had grown to a certain number of users, that had turned completely. And at some point they were respected. I don't think we're feared or anything, right? I think it becomes more of an eye-to-eye level discussion, right? And our CEO, he can, have an eye-to-eye discussion with any other banking CEO. Mm-hmm. It's not fear, but it's also not ridicule anymore.
Yeah, it's not really cool anymore. But at the same time, you really fulfill an enormous service for people who would never get access to that with normal banks.
Yeah, and I would, for myself, I won't see the banks as the competitors, because we are not offering the same solutions, we're not targeting the same users. Let's take the example for the Filipinos. In the Philippines, they have what they call SSS program. It's a social insurance program for Filipinos workers in and from the Philippines. Mm-hmm. So by contributing to this social security, they can have access to protection in terms of, in case of sickness, maternity leaves, or, unemployment. So it's for Filipinos in the Philippines, but also Filipinos living in Europe. So we are offering through the platform the ability to subscribe and to contribute directly from Germany to the Philippines, for instance. I'm not sure that if the other banks are offering these kind of solutions, but the product since the inception, it hasn't been designed to be global. It has been designed to meet with specific needs for specific communities. So we are not, but we are working with banks, with local banks for other financial institutions worldwide. So I see them more like partners rather than competitors. Okay.
And can you elaborate a little bit more about, let's say, fintech solutions? Because both of you say a lot about the groups and how to make life easy, or how to work with the regulators and circumvent certain hurdles. But what are the, let's say, more digital and fintech aspects of your work?
How would you define that? What's a fintech solution? I mean, in our case, we've built a core banking system, a card processing system, a transaction monitoring system all ourselves, not me personally, but our team. So that's a lot of technology and a lot of finance. So I would say that qualifies as fintech, right?
Yeah, yes. You say Bunk is the fintech bank.
Well, for a long time, to be honest, we called ourselves a tech company with a banking license.
Exactly, exactly.
That has changed a bit. Yeah, we now perceive ourselves more as a bank to some extent. Yeah, that takes a lot of advantage of technology. Yeah.
But you say don't play the technology card too hard, because you're a bank and you provide the services.
No, that's not what I'm saying. A lot of the things we're doing, we can do because we own the whole technology.
Okay.
Right? A lot of services would not be possible if we didn't have a group of really, really talented developers that can actually make all this happen.
And how are you related with the more broader fintech ecosystem? So the smaller, the startups, the scale-ups, or is it all within Bunk itself? Or is Bunk, in fact, the bank which is the living laboratory for many of the fintech companies?
No, and I don't think anybody in his right mind today will strive to become as monolithic and as traditional banks are and try to do anything in-house, which is not true anymore either. But I think one of the main differences between neo-banks, if we want to call it that way, and the whole fintech ecosystem versus what we've seen 20 years ago is that the idea of collaboration is ingrained in anybody's mind. Because everybody starts in a niche somewhere, and everybody needs others to actually deliver all the services their customers need.
Exactly, yeah.
So we have a lot of integrations, right? We do investments through a partner. We allow cash deposits and withdrawals at stores through a partner. We do foreign exchange accounts, so dollars, Swiss francs, whatever you want, through a partner. It's all integrated, so we are the face to the customer. We provide the service.
But there is
the
a whole
technology in the
network
back
and
is there's a whole
behind.
network of others contributing to that experience.
And that's the same with you?
Exactly. And I've just noticed that we are working with the same partner for the cash deposit.
Oh,
but
yeah.
And
but you're not in the same markets, huh? So you could collaborate
it's
as
Europe,
well.
but definitely, we are working as a platform. So we have our core business, but also depending on the specific needs, we are also collaborating with different partners to offer the right solution. For the insurance, for instance, we recently launched an embedded insurance. For any customer sending more than 200 euros, they're automatically covered by the insurance in Europe for 30 days without any additional cost. But we are not the insurance company, so we developed a partnership with the global insurance to offer this solution to our end users. So at the end, the user has access to this solution through the platform, but it's transparent. They know that it's being offered by a third party, and also when it's about money remittance, of covering different countries, different currencies, and so on, so you need to have different partners. So what we're trying to do is the combination between the platform and also the people to know about their needs, but also technically to make it happen. And so this is our main goal, to work as a platform.
Are there questions from your side? Oh.
I've got a question, because a bank account is very important, right? And you're bringing down hurdles to onboard the unbanked. And you're looking to Africa and Asia, but there's actually a very large group, which is actually an opportunity for you, which are on the verge of being unbanked, which are the accidental Americans, right? So I'm one myself. In the Netherlands, you have 40,000 accidental Americans, and ABN AMRO, ING, Bing Bank, without any question, canceled my bank account and said, there's pressure from the American government, we have to close your bank account. Yeah. So what do you think about those unbanked people?
Oh.
Funny enough, I've had discussions with, what's it called, American Overseas, and the guy who runs it. And it is indeed interesting, an interesting segment. We never got beyond the discussion stage, to be honest. I don't remember exactly why, but I agree with you. And I think, again, we did research on the regulation and all that, and as long as we can ensure that you guys do not do any investments, we would even be able to offer you accounts. But it is tricky, again, and it's cumbersome, and a large banks with millions of users would probably not care.
Well, it's a cost question, actually. So it costs the banks money to submit reports to the IRS. So they said just, well, it's too expensive, sorry, we closed the bank account. And Americans are pretty rich people, so.
Yeah, but the bank account itself was not the problem, but you cannot offer any service. And that's why the bank account is not enough. And that's exactly, I think, what Gerald and Arfang are saying, that via the services you provide, you get a bank account, an IBAN, and the services. And not only here, but also to many places in the world which are normally difficult to reach. And I think that is a niche, but it's a growing niche with 40% growth, as you said, Arfang. Yeah, but also, I don't know what the growth expectation of Bank is, but it is for a growing population, isn't it?
In our case, I would argue there is a lot of room left in the segment for us to grow.
Yes.
Well,
this was banking the underbankable and unbankable, and perhaps a whole group of, how do you say that with the Americans?
Accidental Americans.
Accidental Americans, yeah. If you're born there, you are an American, but if you live here, you are indeed, you have a problem. And I know that that's a very big group. So there is a whole area to grow in the Netherlands, in Europe, across Europe, but also globally. And I would like to thank you very, very much for giving this very often unknown insights into banking. We didn't know, but it's so important. And it's also so socially important that you do this. Thank you so much. May I have the floor? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Annemieke. Thank you very much, and also the panelists.
Yeah, thank you, Arfang. Thank you, Gerald. Great to have you here. Thank you very much for joining us here. I think this is about the time where I'm supposed to thank the team for putting this all together. As this photo is coming up. No, so we're very happy to have you all here, and I think you've got to see already a very nice picture of the team that put the event together here. And we've got, we're not completely done yet, because we've got a half an hour of good content still coming your way. We've got a very special keynote speaker at the end. So I'd like everyone that's down at the back, we're not serving any beers until 5, so please come on over and move over here and take a seat. And we're more than happy to actually of course, serve your drinks afterwards, and then we can catch up and have a bit of fun before we head into the weekend. I think if we're all ready, last people, everyone, just please move in. Looking forward to have you here. You can just sit down and relax a little bit before you have to stand all the time with your drinks later on. You can bring it on, Andrew. Can you also put this down? All right. Then, without further ado, I'm very keen to introduce our last speaker of the day on the main stage. That's Laura van Geest. She's the president of the Financial Markets Authority here in the Netherlands. A very important regulator, looks after consumer interests as well as the financial markets. So quite a tough job to play, I would say. We've already had a colleague of hers explain a little bit about the challenges in the regulatory market and how that can facilitate technology. And Laura, we're very keen to hear from you what your vision is on technology from an AFM perspective. So thank you very much for joining us. Let's give her a big hand indeed.
Okay. Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Andy Warhol and the pop art movement were a disruptive force in the art world of the 1960s. silkscreen painting as an art technique, a Campbell soup can as an object worth of painting, cross-sectoral as a way of working, not just a visual artist, but also a producer of the well-known rock band The Velvet Underground with Lou Reed, debunker of the idea of the artist with using assistants to increase his productivity, host at his studio, The Factory, a hotspot for creators of all stripes and also for underground celebrities, and perhaps best known for his 15 minutes quote. Okay. His 15 minutes quote, in the future, everyone will be world famous for 15 minutes. The world was never the same afterwards. So you see where I'm heading. Digitalization is a disruptive force as well. With digitalization, the economy will be transformed. New technologies develop and leave their mark. New products and services will spring to life from unexpected sources. Existing products will get an extreme makeover. Production processes get revamped, distribution systems redesigned. New players will enter the market, old players reinvent themselves, either under their own steam or by absorbing startups. Now, of course, some of them will be forced out of business, and some startups will never make it. This is the brave new world of creative destruction, after all. The future is yours as you're sitting in this hall. Perhaps you are a startup, hoping to become the next Amazon, Google, or closer to home, Adyen, to become a household name like Andy Warhol. But perhaps you are an inventor, interested in creating new things, but not so much in running a big business. You're interested in your 15 minutes of fame, but quite willing to be absorbed by a bigger player. Or perhaps you are a well-established party, on the lookout for the new and interesting ideas that will help your business to stay in business, new products or smart RegTech solutions. Now, I hope that this Amsterdam Fintech Week was just as creative and inspiring as Andy Warhol's factory, with lots of opportunities to look at the world in terms of potential, openings, growth, possibilities, you name it. And now you have to listen to a regulator like me, generally cast in the role of, dare I say it, party pooper. Yes, we like innovation, and yes, we like progress, and yes, we see the upside, but we are in business of seeing risks. Financial well-being in the Netherlands, fair and transparent markets, the purposes of the AFM are not a safe asset that takes care of itself. Should these innovations in the world of financial services not be complemented by innovations in our world, the regulatory world? So how do I see the world develop? And what does this imply for you as fintech sector and for us as regulators? Because we're in it together. Now, first, let me start off with some trends. Data makes the world go round. Network effects are strong. People love the products that big tech delivers. Firms love the cost savings that big term delivers. AI and DLT enhance efficiency and create new possibilities. Sectoral boundaries will be redrawn. National boundaries will disappear. More and more financial services will be provided by data and IT enterprises. New parties will enter. Established parties will transform themselves. Digital distribution channels will be the new norm, opening up the market to the whole of EU consumers and business to business. And this creates enormous opportunities for new and better products, for targeted distribution and cost savings. So there's no doubt about that. But there are also risks, and I'm a regulator, let me mention a couple. Fair competition. Big tech has ample access to data through its online platforms. And the more consumers and suppliers are linked to one and a certain platform, the more attractive it becomes. And this will pose problems for all of you. How do we prevent monopolistic behavior and ensure fair pricing? DLT. Financial sector participants are interested in the opportunities of new technologies, smart contracts, more rapid settlement, opportunities to cut costs. Entirely new business models and companies will develop partly outside our view. Think of the world of DeFi. Innovation is great, but financial stability and consumer protection are not innate to the financial system. And I think that the recent crypto winter is a case in point. Outsourcing. Financial firms need to run their operations in a controlled and ethical manner. But how do you ensure this when you outsource more and more of your operations, especially your IT operations? How thorough are you in your outsourcing and contract management? And what about these providers themselves? Who supervises them? Not unimportant if you see no alternative but to migrate to the cloud. And privacy. Yes, there are rules to safeguard privacy, the GDPR. But people quite often prioritize convenience over privacy. And they have no qualms of sharing their data. They do this without taking into account the effects or the repercussions for themselves and others. So how do we ensure privacy? How do we ensure that privacy doesn't become a luxury product that people on a tight budget can ill afford? Something to think about whenever you grumble about the limits that GDPR poses to you. Solidarity. With all this data and AI floating around, insurers will be better placed to assess risks and to price accordingly. On the one hand, it is an effective feedback mechanism and helps to contain moral hazard. It keeps insurance affordable. On the other hand, personalized pricing is a dead-end street as far as solidarity is concerned. If you are a bad risk, personalized pricing means higher and higher premiums you in the end can no longer afford. And in the end, we all become a bad risk as the pools become smaller. Now, Dutch insurers work with an ethical code, but how long will they be able to keep this up when the world becomes more and more bigger? And finally, crime. Digitalization may lower the bar for crime. It becomes anonymous and can be undertaken from afar. Think of cybercrime, mis-selling, fraud. And it's difficult to deal with, especially because it's cross-border. On the other hand, smart AI may be an efficient means to assess risks and to help to deploy the scarce resources. So what is the way forward? As policymakers and regulators, we have to acknowledge that digitalization is not an exercise in business as usual, of tinkering at the margins. The transformation of the economy provides major benefits, lower costs, new products that people love. And so we should not try and block this and try to drag us back to the dark ages before the smartphone, before AI, before DLT. On the other hand, we cannot just rest on our laurels and surrender the public values we all cherish to the forces that be. If the economy reinvents itself, we as policymakers and regulators must follow suit. A rethink is needed how best to deliver on our mission. What does this mean in real life? More action at EU level, more action outside the classical arena of financial regulators, and more cooperation between regulators of all stripes. It does not necessarily mean more rules, by no means, but it does mean more coordination. So let me elaborate a little bit. The EU is the natural level to arrange things. Big tech needs to be made to listen, and it is just easier done at the EU level than at the local level. And if you want to avoid supervisory arbitrage, EU legislation is warranted in a world of true cross-border operations. If a level playing field, network effects, and abuse of monopolistic market power is an issue, competition policy is the logical remedy. First steps have already been taken with the recent adoption of DSA and DMA, but more may follow. Horizontal legislation across sectors is the tool to cover the use of data. And yes, there is also room for classical financial sector regulations. As the crypto world intermingles more and more with consumers and the normal financial sector, we need to act to ensure consumer protection and financial stability. As outsourcing of IT becomes the norm, new rules are necessary to ensure digital operational resilience. Now, for you, this implies that you need to become familiar with this EU letter soup of DMA, DSA, DORA, MiCAR, etc. And it also means that you need to deal with more and different regulators than just AFM and DNB. Think of the ACM, the AP, the European Commission, and the European supervisory bodies. Now, I think we can only deal with this if we work together. As regulators, we do not have all the answers. New territories imply new phenomena that we need to get to know. This is an argument in favor of exploratory, collaborative approach as we feel our way forward. As Dutch regulators, we try to keep abreast of the developments in the sector and are open to dialogue with parties that want to explore new avenues. And this is important for various reasons. First, to ensure informed and useful legislation at the EU level, legislation and supervisory convergence that really delivers. Second, to foster or at least not needlessly harm fintech developments in the Netherlands. Hence the innovation hub that we run together with DNB. It provides you with support if you have queries about supervision and regulations when you are contemplating new innovative products or services. And yes, our support is available both to new and existing firms, whether you already enjoy our supervision or not. And a third reason to work together is the administrative burden that is associated with supervision. Firms need to comply with all these rules, and regulators need to supervise. With all this new data and new technologies, new opportunities present themselves to deal with the unavoidable costs of supervision. Regulators plug into the blockchain or into data sets as opposed to all these data transmissions we undertake at present. Supervisory tech, RegTech provide interesting opportunities to get our goals aligned. Now, I'm getting to a close, so you can go to the drinks perhaps. A regulator is not a happy camper by nature. However, I hope you get a sense that I think that digitalization is not only inevitable, but also desirable for consumers, business, and even compliance officers and the regulators. We just need to get the conditions right. Digitalization will leave its mark on the world. It's up to us to make sure that we will look back with as much awe and enthusiasm as we look back on the heritage of Andy Warhol, be it his quote, his many artworks, his influence on the Velvet Underground, or just the fact that modern art was never the same. Now, in the factory, people crashed on a red sofa, coming down after a night of hard partying and a trip on LSD. I do not know what the FinTech Week organizers have in store for you. I presume something more mundane, like drinks. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, Don. Hier, Don.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Laura. I think it's been great. I was a bit bedazzled with all the abbreviations. So I think that's already a big study subject for most of the people in the hall. Because indeed, if you add the European legislators towards the Dutch legislators, you really have to be good at your abbreviations in any case. But I think it's an inspiring story with, I think, good hope. I think it's nice to see how the thinking about innovation is progressing as well at the regulator side, where we've seen different swings as well, being more lenient towards innovation and being more, well, sometimes more afraid of what might happen with certain developments. So thank you very much for sharing that. I'm just curious if I could ask you one thing. I think it's just what kind of way do you think it's best to learn from market development? So how do you feel that the interaction between participants in the market that are working on new innovations, how would you like to get, let's say, knowledgeable about that at the AFM? How do you do that, or is there something we can do for that actually?
Well, I think there's not one silver bullet to get acquainted with developments. So I think on the one hand, we of course have people that are more academically interested. So they work, for instance, at the University of Delft. So they're really at the forefront and know what developments are. They even teach people there, students there. On the next to it, we also kind of get acquainted with just reading papers and and discussing things with colleagues. The third way is especially this innovation hub, where people that contemplate new ideas can come and we get a sense of where they're heading and what the problems are that they run into. Sometimes we also go on a work visit, so it's a varied approach. I think, so for instance, on insurance, what is a specific topic that keeps me awake at night sometimes? We also had interaction with a digital provider of insurance, and just to listen how they look at it and how they do this in different countries than in our own. We also had an interaction with the Singapore's authorities. Now, they also have their way of working, so you can get inspired by literature, by interacting with your colleagues in the Netherlands, with interacting with your colleagues abroad, and also with financial participants or people that are thinking about innovative approaches. And I would say that especially if there's someone who is interested in exploring RegTech and supervisory tech, which is kind of a hobby, but like most hobbies, I think about it in theory, but I don't have a really practical sense yet. I would be really interested if people would come and visit us.
I'm pretty sure that we've got a couple of people in the room here who have some ideas for you about that. So we'll definitely make the link there. And I think that's actually also a very good call, because I think the world that's changing so fast by technology, you at some point need more technology to actually keep an eye on it as well. So I think it's a smart move as well to invest in that. So thank you for that, and also good that you mentioned actually the Innovation Hub, because that's also one where you can find it also on, for example, the Holland Fintech website or AFM or Dutch Central Bank website to get acquainted with how to test your solutions with people from the financial regulatory authorities to just figure out how they would deal with it. Thank you very much, Laura. Let's give her a very big hand. Laura van Geest, President of the AFM. Then I would like to ask my colleague Sylvia to get our next subject towards the stage. I hope she can hear me. We'll check it out, otherwise I'll have to wait a little bit. We're getting some interesting slides here. Apparently I'm supposed to make a commercial for Campbell soup. No, just kidding. Could you perhaps ask Sylvia to bring the painting? Yeah? Thanks. So we're going to wrap it up now in just a few minutes. Can you go to the next slide? There should be some interesting slides still coming up. Without soup. Can you move the slides? Yeah? Oh, sorry. Apparently. Well, thank you. Okay, yeah, this is not the one I was looking for. Do we have another one? Because we have a bit of a scoop for you here today, if the slides will work. That's always the question. Nothing left? Okay, apparently this is all improvisation. Okay, but we've got one big slide coming up over there. Let's please give a very big hand for our fabulous painter. Yeah. Yeah, okay. All right, well, I think it looks fabulous. Do you have time for a few questions? Yeah? Of course. Here, let's do it like this. Here you go. Nice. So thanks.
Testing.
Right. Well, I think congratulations. I think you created something marvelous out of nothing, starting with the white paper just this morning.
Yeah, true. Thank you. Only today.
What does your journey of today look like? I mean, funny buzz, all kinds of different financial terms flowing around in your head, and at the same time, this creative process going on. I think.
Yeah. To be honest, like 3 years ago, before all the COVID and stuff, I tried to show my process of painting out to the world. So yeah, since then it's been a very long time. So for me it's also like really something new, and especially on an event like this, because it's something totally different than the fintech world. But yeah, that felt really exciting. A challenge.
So what is your inspiration for this, right? So what keeps you? What kind of creative process is going on in your head when you're working on this?
Ooh, creative person, yeah. It's like...
I mean, are you just focusing on the colors, or is it something kind of expression you're trying to build? What's happening?
Well, I'm really focusing always on the recognizable, that you can recognize the person. Yeah, it's like also the colors, of course, and to make it like one big connection. You could say that it really connects with each other, and that's something that I cannot really practice or prepare for. It's something that you have to do in the moment. So yeah, what I can really focus on is always like that everything's good, expression of the face, and then when the time comes for the colors, it has to be in the moment.
Yeah. Nice.
And
that's of course why it's a painting and not a book, right? So that's why indeed the words might be a bit harder, but the process is clearly having a very good success at the end, right? So I think that's great. Great that you shared it with us.
True.
And actually, what we want to do is actually to wrap up the day in a nice way, is to auction this this fabulous painting, right? I should say clearly that it's not done yet, right?
True.
Well. That's always right with when you talk to an artist, it's actually never done. But we give them a little bit more time. But then in the end, you can get this painting, which was live painted here, and you could hang it anywhere. And we'll be giving that to a good cause. We think it's really important that we actually make a contribution there, and we think this is a nice way of doing that. And we hope that you're willing to play along here on that. And actually, one of the goals in any case we picked up in the discussions recently is that we've seen there's a lot of energy poverty currently going on in the Netherlands. And what that does is it actually puts a lot of strain on the food banks, right? So the food banks currently are struggling to actually make ends meet and provide enough food for everyone who's currently not able to buy their own groceries. And we think that we should really make a contribution there to see how in any case, this painting is willing to do that. So we're going to go for an auction system. This is the first one, so we're going to have to practice this a little bit. Anyone with a... So I see a hand there at the back. Yeah, what are you saying, sir?
Maybe I missed something, but who is this person that you paint?
Oh, yeah.
It's Andy Warhol.
Lara van Geest already made a reference to it. She actually saw the painting as well, and she made a link to it in her speech as well. So quite nice. So no, indeed, Andy Warhol. Yeah.
Yeah, Andy Warhol is also, like me, a very colorful person. Yeah, also,
yeah.
True, you did.
Yeah, for sure. It's good to think of things in a different way. He definitely is a good master of showing that, right?
Yeah.
All right. Then we're going to give this a try. We're going to do it in a traditional way by, if you raise your hand, we'll just go up 100 euros. Right? Shall we do that? I think that's the easiest way. I'm sorry? No, yes. Shall we start, what should we start with? What would be a good basic price?
Well, what would you guys give a little child to live for 1 month? To eat for 1 month, I would say.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, but let's try to price that. Shall we say 500 euros? Is that a good start?
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
I think that's something
I think
that's doable, right?
Yeah, that's pretty doable.
All right. Yes. I'm sorry, you'd like to bid? I can't hear it. 500? Yeah, you're the 500. Okay, so we got the first bid, 500. It's right over there. 600? Can we do it? 600, is that okay? All right, we'll go for 600. 750 we have here. Anyone else interested in this painting? It's a beautiful one, so it actually gets more colorful along the way when it's finally done, right? But it's made right here with all this inspiration of us here today. 800? 800 it is. Anyone? Yeah? 850? 850 it is. Anyone else willing to bid for this lovely painting? It's definitely worth more than
a little bit of more information. Most of the work that I do, of all my work that I do, I always take like 2 weeks minimum for it, and I ask like 4 weeks to really finish it. And if you guys have seen the Nelson Mandela that sat next to me, that's one of my finished products. And yeah, it takes me a lot of time to really get to that process. Yeah.
Yeah, 850 then we are. Or did we have that already? It's getting late. 850? Yeah. Okay. I was 850. Okay, sorry. 900. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. 1250 we have here. So we're jumping up. 1250. Is there anyone else in the game? I think Annemieke has her eyes on this painting. That's in any case for sure. Yeah. No, this is it. Yeah, this is it. We have this one. Yeah, yeah. Sorry. Should we take Nelson Mandela next time? Okay. Now, 1250 we have. Is there anyone else still interested? What can we do? Just clear. No one online? Anyone? No. All right. Now I think we'll leave it at this. If there's no other interest, double check. Going once, going twice. That's how it's supposed to be, I believe. Congratulations, Annemieke. Let's give her a big hand. Very generous, and I think a lovely painting for you as well. So we'll definitely connect you to make sure you'll get the finished product in the end towards you. So thank you very much for doing this here. I think it's a great assignment that you did.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Awesome.
You're welcome. And I think thank you for enlightening us and also showing us a different perspective of the world than APIs, open banking, and other stuff that we were talking about here today.
It was my pleasure.
Yeah, all right. Thanks a lot. Let's give him a big hand, everyone.
Thank you all. Thank you.
All right. Then I'm going to check back in on the slides if we were actually, because I'm still missing one slide. I'm not sure. I'm looking at Sylvia there if she has any clue. But otherwise, I think we're going to wrap this up, and we're going to give you a bit of a spoiler. We actually finished the Dutch fintech map here today. It was done. And I actually wanted to show it to you, the new Dutch fintech map with over 1,700 companies. But I don't have it, right? It's supposed to be on the slide, but it's not. So it's a bit of a bummer. But we're going to just, I think, show it to you all digitally. We're going to give it to you, unless someone is... No, I think it's gone. It disappeared already. Sorry, apparently it's a fungible one, despite of all the current trends. That leaves nothing here then, I think, just to wrap it up. And thank you very much for your attention, your inspiration, your energy. And I really hope that you'll be able to have a lot more fun as well during drinks to wrap it up, going to the weekend. We're very much looking forward to take you on to XFW23 very soon, as we will start up the preparations for next year. I think it'll be a lot of fun. Please reach out if you weren't able to connect just yet to anyone through either the Brella app or just let us know, someone from the Holland Fintech team, to see how we can help you out. That's it for now. That's all, folks. Please head for the drinks. It's in the speaker lounge. See you all soon. And thank you, team.